morning we're going to talk about communication. We want to get more communication and less commiseration. Communication solves problems, commiseration creates problems. And we're going to get into the definition here. Communication is talking to the person who is responsible for the problem you're experiencing with the intent of resolving the problem. So what I want to underline here is the motive is you're wanting to resolve the problem. You're talking so you can come to a place of understanding and agreement. At the heart of the whole reason you do it is the intent to resolve the problem. Commiseration is a little different. Commiseration is talking to others about the person or problem you are experiencing with the intent to get sympathy and feel good about yourself. Completely different. Tell me if I'm off there, but I think the reason we human beings like to talk to others about people is to make ourselves feel good. If you have another reason, that's a good reason, tell me. But I think when I look at my life, it's because I want to feel good. I can talk about this person and somebody says, oh, I'm so sorry that they're treating you like this, or I can't believe they're acting like that, or what's their problem? It makes me feel like I'm right, and it makes me feel good. So I'm not trying to solve the problem, I'm just trying to feel good. It's a very selfish reason. You drag other people into your problem and spread the problem out among other people when it's actually your problem that you need to go talk to that person and resolve. So at the heart of communication is to solve a problem. Not easy, but that's why you do it. Commiseration is just to make yourself feel good. So communication builds and commiseration destroys. It's very obvious why that happens just from how they operate and what they do, like we just talked about. But communication builds people and organizations who are engaged in it, and they are the ones who will enjoy success. Think of the Eagles. So happy they won. But they were a team who communicated. They had good communication, good team spirit, and good team dynamics. Things were happening. There was not distrust. They did not, talk bad about each other. There was this communication, this cohesive group of men who did something amazing because they were a strong team. They were communicating. I guarantee you, communication is a huge part of their success. Commiseration destroys people and organizations who are engaged in it, and misery will be their only success. That's a strong word, misery, but it is true. That's what you get to focus on. When you're commiserating, you just get to focus on and enjoy how terrible you feel with your friends. It's like the pity party. A pity party can feel good, and that's what you get to enjoy. That's about it. You get to enjoy your pity party. So if you want true success, you got to be able to communicate. If you want to enjoy a pity party, your pity party will grow bigger and bigger as you continue to commiserate with others. So that's going to be the success you'll enjoy. So I just want to go over what I look at when I'm trying to communicate to people. These couple things I'm going to go over I think are really important. Start with the motive, like I said earlier. Communication, it starts with a motive of wanting, understanding, and resolution. If you don't want that, then you're not going to make the effort, you're not going to put forth the effort to communicate because you're going to say it's not worth it. But if you know that you want to have understanding and a resolution to the problem you're facing, that's where you start. You start with that desire. And then think mature. Realize there is another perspective that we're not seeing. So me, Jason Hurst, I have my own perspective. As I stand here and look at you guys, I have a perspective from up here. If I were standing over there, it would be a different perspective. So when you bring different people in, there's different perspectives than our own. And when you understand that, then you come into it with an open mind, wanting to learn. Because you understand there's more perspectives than the one you have. This is big. Believe the best. Give others the benefit of the doubt and believe they want the best for the situation. That is the trust that everything's built on. If you can't believe the person you're talking to actually wants the best, then why even bother talking to them? So if you really stop and think about it and you're saying, why is this person acting like this, or why are they making this decision? If you can get down to in your heart and say, you know what, I believe they actually want the best for this situation. So there must be something they're seeing that I'm not. and maybe there's something I'm seeing that they're not that I can bring to the situation and help them make a better decision. So believe the best. And every time you come into a discussion or you're trying to talk to somebody about a problem, think of it as a brainstorming session, because we're on the same team, so act like it. When you get together and it's like, hey, I'd like to brainstorm with you about this certain thing I'm seeing. I've noticed that you made this certain decision, and I'm curious why you've done that, because I'm not quite understanding it from my perspective. Could you tell me how you made this decision and what kind of impacted that, or why you were influenced to make that decision? You're giving them an or a time, a place to explain their decision making. So then when they're done, then you can say, do you mind if I share a couple thoughts on my perspective? It's a brainstorming session. You're working together because you're on the same team, okay? Then this is probably the biggest thing. Show up more ready to learn than to teach. If you can show up wanting to understand that person and really wanting to understand that person and the way they think, you're showing up to learn. If you show up just ready to tell that person how it is, you're coming to teach and they can tell that, and it's much harder for them to receive what you have to say. But if you come to learn, then it turns into a brainstorming session, okay? So when I think of communication, I might be the boss here. I might be the man who has to make sure we're going the right direction ultimately. But when I show up to a conversation, these are the things I show up with. And if I don't, tell me, because I need to show up with this. Every person, no matter what position you have, you need to show up with these kinds of attitudes. So let's remember, communication, at the heart of it, at the center, is wanting to solve a problem. Commiseration is wanting to feel good. Let's think about that. So when you're about to talk to other people about a person, remember that. You're not actually solving a problem, you're making it bigger. Because communication builds the team, commiseration destroys the team. Every single time. So good communication, show up humble, like we just talked about. Show up ready to learn, show up ready to brainstorm, to make that person feel heard and important, give that person a chance to talk. That is what communication is about. So again, commiseration makes us feel good, communication makes us good. Complete difference, complete difference. And I'm going to go into a little bonus slide here. This is why commiseration is a really big deal. Your attitude affects your performance and the performance of everyone else. So I've talked about this here before, but we pay for the work you do and the attitude you bring. Both are factored into your pay. And here's why. So I'm using myself as an example. I'm working in a company. I'm an employee, Jason Hurst there. You can see blue is my level of workmanship, like what I bring, my level of expertise, all that good stuff, my speed at which I do things. And red is my attitude. So in this slide, I have a 5. So I'm about in the middle. I have a lot of room to grow in the way I work and the way I do things. But my attitude is pretty good. I'm not talking bad. I might not be contributing huge amounts, but I'm not doing anything negative. I'm talking good about the company to other people, helping people feel energized. And then Pete, the boss there, even he's not perfect, but he's setting an example. Tom, Dick, and Harry all have good attitudes, and they're working at an 8. So here's what happens when we move forward. If my work gets better, so you see I jumped from a 5 to an 8. My work got better, but my attitude went down. Here's the reason: if your attitude gets worse, I have to pay you less, even if your work got better. Because now, Pete the boss is trying to figure out how to help me and all the other people I've been commiserating with. Because did you see how Tom, Dick, and Harry, they moved down? Their attitudes were at 9 and their work was at an 8. And now everybody's down to a 7. Because when you talk to other people about your problems, you're spending time on the clock talking about problems that you have when you should be talking directly to the person who can actually fix a problem. So now they're hearing about it. They're not feeling as enthused about life and about working for this company because I am spreading my bad stuff. Harry there, He's keeping his attitude because he doesn't believe the stuff I'm saying, but he has to deal with the mess. He's hearing other people talk about it, so he's part of the company. It just brings the whole team's performance down. Pete, the boss, like I said, he's trying to figure out how to solve this problem. He's having to talk to other people. So now everybody's time is affected by my attitude. Does that make sense? That is why attitude is a bigger deal than the work you do. I'd rather have you at a 5 with your work and a really high attitude than an 8 with your work and a bad attitude. Does that make sense? Because attitude affects everybody else. If you want to work slow, I'll just have to pay you a little less, but it doesn't affect everybody else, as long as you're bringing value. But if you want to have a bad attitude and work well, it brings everybody else down. Does that make sense? So I just wanted to go into that a little bit because that's why commiseration is such a big deal. That's why good teams really go somewhere and teams that do not communicate do not, because it brings everybody down. So I just wanted you to understand that. I've talked about that before, and I thought I'd put it up here on a graph so you can really see what I'm talking about. That's why even if you work better, making other people work slower, if you make 3 other people work slower or 4 other people in this example, even if I got 3 points better on my work, my personal work, it brought everybody else down, and so all the value, monetarily even, talking about money, is gone. Okay? So that's why it's really, really important. So again, commiseration makes us feel good, communication makes us good. Commiseration destroys us, like we just saw, it destroys the team. Communication destroys problems. We're all clear on why we should communicate? That's why we want to communicate more and commiserate less, if at all. I know we don't get instantly better, but that's where we're going.